You're listening to The Briefing, first broadcast on the 9th of December 2025 on Monocle Radio. Hello and welcome to The Briefing, broadcasting to you live from Studio One here at Midori House in London. I'm Tom Edwards. Coming up today, the brittle ceasefire holding along the Thai-Cambodian border has apparently broken. Once again, what's driving the tensions? Monocle's Asia editor is here to tell us. We'll change gears or tack, or should that be tracks? To talk urban mobility stories with our own Carlotta Rebello. Where are we going, Carlotta?
Hi, Tom. This train will be calling at Belgrade, Paris, Portugal, and even a bit of Japan.
More from Carlotta on that in a moment. Then we have some reflections on Miami Design Week, where our team spoke with a veritable array of industry leaders. Grace Charlton was there. Now she's here. What did you learn in the Florida sunshine, Grace?
I learned everything about collectible design and where the industry is going next.
Grace will have more about her trip to Miami before we wrap up today's programme. All that and more besides ahead on The Briefing with me, Tom Edwards. A very warm welcome to this Tuesday edition of the programme. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever in the world you are. We are kicking off this programme with those simmering tensions on the Thai-Cambodian border. Well, from a simmer, they've pretty much fully boiled over again. Let's discuss what happened with our James Chambers, Monocle's Asia editor, who joins us live from Bangkok. James, good evening to you. Look, this is a story that's moving quickly. You've been keeping across it for, well, the last few weeks. What's the latest?
Yes, I mean, yesterday the fighting erupted again on the border. I mean, the Thais and the Cambodians both have competing versions about who fired first. But in any case, there were shots fired, and then the Thais sent up their F-16 fighter jets and bombed a few military installations in Cambodia, including an abandoned casino, which they were saying was used to launch drones over Thailand. That was yesterday, and sadly, it has not. These simmering tensions have, as you said, boiled over and continued today. The Thais are saying that the Cambodians fired again this morning and have essentially expanded the war from a few provinces to a few more. And I guess, you know, from the Thai side, there certainly has been a change in the tone from the army, the kind of the patience, I guess, and the talk of self-defense that we saw back in July has kind of switched now. And it feels like, I mean, the Thais are a bit fed up and they want to, I mean, there's talk of this being an end game or a chance to finish it. So there's been a lot more talk of trying to, you know, cripple Cambodia's military capability. So this can't happen again, you know, and protect the safety of our children and grandchildren, which is what came from the Army Chief of Staff. So that doesn't sound like the type of talk you might get if there's going to be another ceasefire anytime soon.
Well, no, and I was going to ask you a bit about how that change in rhetoric, which is fairly arresting, does point the way forwards. I was going to frame it, James, a question about the chance for de-escalation or a ceasefire. As you say, though, that's much more blunt. The communication is probably a little more bellicose. So do we gear up for more of this? I guess the historical context is important. We're talking about many decades, well, maybe more than a century of disputes along this territory. So it's not exactly like one can imagine there is an easy flick to switch to shut down these tensions.
I mean, people may or may not recall that there was 5 days of fighting in July, and that came to an end when the US, the White House, Donald Trump, and China waded in alongside the Malaysians. And essentially there was a threat from Trump that said, if you guys don't put down your weapons, there's no chance that you'll get any kind of good deal with us on tariffs. And that quickly brought the two sides together. And, you know, that we had that peace signing in Malaysia only last month. What's changed now is that the Thai Prime Minister came out last month when there was a fresh landmine incident and said, I don't care about trade and I don't care about tariffs anymore. This is a bilateral issue, and we're only going to talk to the Cambodians if they stop if they stop what they're doing. That's pretty tough talk. And he's come out again this week and said the same. He's like, I don't care about tariffs anymore. And I guess the difference is, one, that the Thai public didn't like what happened in July, when essentially outside countries came and told Thailand what they should do. Because, I mean, from this part of the world, from the Thai side, everyone here is very much seeing it as something that the Cambodians have triggered. And they didn't like the fact that the Malaysians and the Donald Trump were telling them what to do. And so this time around, I guess the politicians and the army feel like they have to be a lot stronger, because there is an election lurking around the corner. So the current Prime Minister, Anutin Chan Virakun, I mean, he knows there's no chance he can do well in the next election, which could be as early as March next year, if he's seen to be soft on the Cambodians. And it seems like the whole all political parties are right behind the army on this. And as I said before, the People's Party, who are meant to be the kind of the young progressives, I mean, the leader came out and said, as I said, this is an end game. This is a potential chance for Thailand to finish this, to get rid of Hun Sen, who's essentially the leader in Cambodia, and he has been for decades, and he has been a thorn in Thailand's side for so long, and kind of finish it for once and for all. And if that's coming from them, then it's going to be very hard for the Prime Minister to kind of negotiate anything that looks like a compromise.
James, always great to have your insights. Thanks for keeping a weather eye on that one. I'm sure we'll be hearing more from you in the days and weeks ahead. That was our James Chambers, Monocle's Asia editor, live on the line from Bangkok. You're listening to The Briefing here on Monocle Radio. Exactly 7 minutes past the hour, and we're switching gears somewhat with Monocle's executive producer, Carlotta Rebello, who joins me around the table here in Studio One. Good afternoon, Carlotta.
Hi, Tom.
Now, you've brought a few urban mobility stories. What kinds of things have you been looking at for us, Carlotta?
Yes, I thought it was time that we brought the mobility news back on track into Studio One.
Oh, very good.
And I want to start in Belgrade. Now, you might not know, but Belgrade is actually Europe's biggest capital city without a metro, which is quite surprising. Now, since the 90s, it's been an ongoing thing about building a metro and how that's going to work, etc. But a new report by Bloomberg City Lab actually shows that the city seems that it's going ahead finally. This is a 4.4 billion euro project to open by 2030. And what is interesting is that the contracts are signed with both Chinese and French construction companies. We know that China has been investing heavily, not just in Europe, but also in Africa when it comes to new train lines, new metro lines and trams. So having that balance with a French contractor is quite interesting, and really would be incredible to see that how this could change the lives of a city of 1.7 million people.
And did you say by 2030?
By 2030, yes, it's ambitious.
I was going to say, if you were doing something like that here in London, you wouldn't barely dig a hole in 5 years.
They do say that that's the estimate to open the first line, and the second line will come a few years later. But considering they've been waiting since the 90s, Tom,
exactly.
2030 sounds really good.
Give them a hot minute. Well, you mentioned French contractors. Let's cast an eye over to France. I know you've been looking at Paris and the Parisian metro, Carlotta, with a different lens.
Yes, this is because of the UNESCO International Architecture Awards, the Prix Versailles. And they came out yesterday, and the new station in Paris 14 line has been awarded the best looking metro station in the world, which is such a great accolade. And it just shows, this is 50 meters deep underground near the Campus Grand Park Eco District, and designed by the architect Dominique Perrault, and it has been awarded the most beautiful train station in the world. So next time we are there, I know we have missed the window with the Paris Christmas market just this weekend, but next time we're in town, I think it warrants a field trip.
Definitely one for the transport aficionados, or nerds, as we sometimes call them, Carlotta. What about the motherland? What's been going on over there?
Well, I was really happy to read in Publico this week a story about Portugal finally developing the very first made-in-Portugal train. Now, as many nations, Portugal has always imported trains from other providers, but now it is actually underway, and the prototype will be completed in early 2026, and then they hope that these trains would enter circulation even next year. Now, this includes several Portuguese companies, from the the material side, from obviously the mechanical side, and trying to relaunch Portugal's industries, as it were, in terms of manufacturing prowess. Now, we have spoken lots here about, Portugal actually is one of the biggest and largest bike manufacturers in Europe. And now it seems they're turning the attention to rail. Portugal's dream of high-speed rail is a slow one. And this year we got the news that there was finally funding unlocked to create this high-speed line to connect Portugal and Spain.
So we've discussed it on this very programme,
Exactly.
Carlotta.
So having made in Portugal trains just seems like the cherry on top of this cake.
Fly the flag for Portuguese heavy industry. And I want to ask you, actually, well, it's another sort of slightly soft power story. I don't know if people have seen this as a British train company or bit of rolling stock that's been given a, let's be honest, fairly sort of garish and quite ugly sort of Union Jack colourway, which is sort of how not to do rail-based soft power. Bit of a nudge, bit of a how to do it from our friends over in the Far East. Japan's done something similar, but just with its classic style.
When in doubt about how to use some of the national soft power icons, always look at Japan. Now, listeners will know already of the Hello Kitty train that has been, zipping up and down the country for a few years now. But now there's a new Super Mario game series based train. And this is, of course, based on the Nintendo franchise. And this is by Kyushu Railway. And the train is very cute, Tom. I have a photo here for you to have a look.
Love it. It looks kind of like a Mario platform game.
Exactly,
for listeners.
Which would make sense. If you have ever played a game, it moves like a platform. So as the train zips past you, you'll basically see the characters going up and down. Exactly like that. Maybe, I don't know.
Sound effect.
Sorry. I haven't read in this piece whether or not they've changed, maybe the horn to make any of those sound effects, but I can put a good word for you, Tom.
Carlotta, what a sensational roundup. Listeners, do interrogate those stories in more detail. That's our Carlotta Rebello with an urban mobility special focus here on The Briefing. There is plenty, some of it's marginally more serious, taking place around the world. Let's cross over to the other studio. Tom Webb is standing by with the day's other news headlines.
Thanks, Tom. Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky is in the Vatican today, where he is meeting with Pope Leo to discuss the war in Ukraine. Zelensky will also meet with Italian Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni as he continues his tour through Europe to shore up support for Ukraine, as the US continues to put pressure on Moscow and Kyiv to sign the framework deal. Andrej Babus has been sworn in as the Czech Republic's new Prime Minister following October's parliamentary election. It marks the return to power for the populist billionaire who has promised Czechs that he will fight for their interests at home and anywhere in the world. Babus still faces fraud charges in cases involving EU subsidies, and the new parliament will have to lift his official immunity for a court to issue a verdict. Japanese authorities have lifted a tsunami warning after a powerful 7.5 magnitude earthquake struck off the northeast of the country. The earthquake prompted authorities to issue evacuation orders for more than 100,000 people. Prime Minister Sanai Takaichi urged residents to remain on alert for further tremors. And the IATA, the global airlines trade body, has said that the airline sector is expected to post a record $41 billion net profit next year. The projection comes despite the ongoing supply chain issues. The world's leading plane manufacturers, Airbus and Boeing, have both faced delivery delays to their airline clients in recent years. Those are the day's headlines. Back to you, Tom.
Thank you very much indeed, Tom. More headlines coming away at the top of the next hour, 1300 here in London. It is 12:14. This is The Briefing on Monocle Radio, and it's the most wonderful time of the year. Not Christmas season. No. Award season. Monocle senior correspondent Fernando Augusto Pacheco joins me in the studio. Hi, Faye.
I feel so excited during award season. It's like an ejection of dopamine in my system. I love it.
Faye, listen. Award season's heating up. We had Golden Globes nominations just yesterday. I think that's right. What did your well-trained eye make of what you saw and heard?
First of all, I have to say the Golden Globes are back. I think during COVID, there's been a few scandals here and there. I mean, it completely lost its credibility. I'm not saying that they are, super credible at the moment, but much better than it was. And I think it's still a very fun, entertaining TV show to watch on the 11th of January. My first impression, Tone, I think what a great year for foreign films. And I'm saying foreign films in the US context, of course, where this is happening. I mean, it's really big. We don't have one or two like it was the case in the past. We have, for example, the Iranian film It Was Just an Accident, who is kind of representing France because the film was filmed in secret. And in fact, the director Jafar Panahi, I mean, he got like a 1-year sentence to prison in case he goes back to Iran. A fantastic film. We have Norwegian family drama Sentimental Value by Joachim Trier. Another great emotional film. I spoke to Joaquin, so we're going to listen to the interview, in a few weeks here on Monocle Radio. We have The Secret Agent from Brazil. Again, last year we had I'm Still Here. Well, this year actually we had I'm Still Here. But now we have another year, of great nominations. I'm very happy about that.
Look, the big one, certainly in terms of the silver screen, remains the Oscars. And I always find it interesting to get your temperature take of runners and riders, and as you get other awards ceremonies, you get different panels of international journalists and all the rest of it, and people begin to kind of formulate in their mind the hot favourites really for the big Oscars, which is in March.
Yeah.
Who's kind of leading the lines at the moment?
I think this year we have a clear favourite. It's the latest by Paul Thomas Anderson, One Battle After Another. Incredible film. In fact, we have a little trailer here, and I hope it has some of the music, Tom, because if you appreciate a good soundtrack, I think One Battle After Another, it's that kind of thrilling, pulsating film. It's very long, but it doesn't feel like it. I think it's going to get Best Picture, potentially Best Director as well. Here is a little taster of One Battle After Another.
This is Bob Ferguson. I was a part of the French 75.
I felt like Tony Montana!
Steve Lockjaw just attacked my home, and I cannot remember, for the life of my only child, the answer to your question.
Maybe you should have studied the rebellion text a little harder.
I need to find my daughter.
Well, then call us back.
Faye, has P.T. Anderson won an Oscar?
No, he didn't. So it's time. So I think it's one of those moments where, let's give...
Because occasionally the Academy, I know they say they don't, but they sort of do the kind of lifetime achievement catch-up a little bit. And that amazing discordant music, shout out. Is it old Johnny Greenwood, whatever his chops is from Radiohead still?
Absolutely. I think, he's always incredible. And I think, if the Academy does give an Oscar to Paul Thomas Anderson, I think it's not the case of just kind of playing catch-up. Because I think, all the critics would agree that this film is great. It did quite well at the box office, as well. So I think that's also important. Because I was talking about all those international films, although they're very well regarded by critics.
A little bit niche, maybe?
They're quite niche. The box office, it's not a lot. But, it's an interesting...
And of course, getting one of these big gongs can be a game changer, even for a movie that's fairly established. Think back to the what was it Apple movie? I can't even remember. But it's
Anora last year.
Anora, or there was the one with the amazing deaf actor
Coda.
Ooh. And then it sort of has a second life. It becomes a legit commercial
It's
hit.
very important, actually, especially if you're doing a small film. And I think this year there will be a lot of room for surprises, because I did mention One Battle After Another. But then after that, it's kind of an open for all. That's why I think there will be a lot of kind of more niche titles on the main kind of categories.
And just, Faye, in terms of surprises or snubs, because there's always this sort of subtext of who has been recognised and who hasn't, and is it a gesture, is it meaningless? And there's these hot topics around how representative the Academy is and their selections. Where are we at? Because obviously the US is in a challenging moment in terms of how confident and comfortable people are in what they publicly state the recognition is for and so forth. Does that political backdrop, because these award ceremonies are politicised, does it make it more difficult to recognise the best? Or counterintuitively, it's easier because they can say, look, it's meritocratic, this is brilliant, and that's that.
Well, and if you don't mind, I'll go back to One Battle After Another. If it does win, because if you've seen the film, it's about the guerrilla group. It does talk about, illegal immigration in the US, it would feel so current to actually award. So it's kind of, it's hitting the spots, perhaps accidentally. I'm sure Paul Thomas Anderson was not thinking about that. But if you talk about surprises, I mean, we didn't see Wicked for Good, the sequel for the first Wicked. It did get some nominations, but not for Best Picture, Comedy or Musical. So that's kind of a little bit of a snub. So I wonder how well will he do at the Oscars as well.
Faye, just really quickly, and again to sort of change direction somewhat, while we have you in the studio, a proud Paulista, of course, I'm sure culture vultures will have seen this pretty extraordinarily brazen theft from was it a museum or a public library?
It's a library, Mário de Andrade Library in São Paulo, one of the most respected
What's gone on?
places.
These thieves have walked in broad daylight, strolled out with priceless Matisse, I think some etchings or engravings and some other artworks by another very, very well-established and famous Brazilian artist. How comes this has happened right on your doorstep?
5 works by Cândido Portinari and 8 by Matisse. I mean, this is a big deal in the art world. So apparently one of the suspects have been arrested, but not the artwork, unfortunately. So it's a big deal, and they were armed. So apparently there was an elderly couple there at the library. I'm sure they were very scared. We had our little Louvre moment. And the more I read about the story, is fascinating. So the same pieces by Matisse have been stolen 20 years ago. But I think they were a bit cleverer 20 years ago, because then they substitute to a fake version. And then they found out the originals in Argentina. So thankfully it's being rescued. But now they're stolen again. So, I mean, we have no details at the moment, but it is quite a serious and, sad case.
So it sounds like next season of Lupin.
Exactly.
Like Faye, great stuff. An excellent, quick cultural rattle through the firmament with Fernando Augusto Pacheco here on The Briefing on Monocle Radio. .21 here in London town. This is The Briefing on Monocle Radio. Grace Charlton, Monocle's Associate Editor for Fashion and Design, is here. Welcome, Grace.
Hi, how's it going?
That is your name, isn't it?
That is my name.
I got it right, second time of asking. Now, Grace, tell me, you and Nick Manise have been busy. You've just returned from Design Miami, and we have a premiere of a special edition of Monocle on Design tonight.
I know, it's
2000.
so exciting. I mean, can I just say, I feel like I need to put this out there first. It was a work trip and we worked really hard. Yes, it was in Miami. Yes, we were in the Florida sunshine. Maybe we did have a few martinis in the evening and went for dips in the Atlantic Ocean. But we worked really hard to produce this episode of the podcast, which is coming out tonight.
Okay. I was not implying anything.
Did that sound defensive? I don't know.
No, it was maybe overly defensive. But listen, it is an amazing assignment. And obviously we have these design fairs that travel the world, in this case as well. They pop up in Seoul, in Paris. But there is something special. Connoisseurs of the sector will say, Design Miami, it has a unique quality. I don't know if it's the palm trees, the sunshine. What is can you boil down what it is about this iteration that is so special?
Yeah, collectible design is on the rise. What is collectible design? And maybe let's start there. It's like rarities, one-offs, antiques. Think like a cabinet made by Ettore Sottsass, one of the biggest designers of the 1980s. But there'll be like one of two that he's ever made in this fair. And people are there and they're shopping for their houses and, their Palm Beach mansions and everything. Design Miami was really early in terms of being part of the conversation. They started in 2005, so this was their 20th edition. And since sort of taking root in Miami, they've then toured the world and taken this concept to Paris, to Seoul, and in 2027 they're going to Dubai. But I have a feeling that Miami is the most fertile ground for this kind of endeavor because it's a weird city. It's really, really weird. Like, it's got tropical Art Deco. Joan Didion once described the architecture there as having slipped its moorings, which I think is just a great description for the city generally. So I'm not surprised that this is where something quite strange like collectible design sort of found its home.
Now, obviously, we have this premiere tonight, 2000 London time, very exciting, and I'm sure regular listeners to the briefing are probably already subscribed to Monocle on Design. If they're not, they should be straight after the show. Do you have a little appetite whetter, something we can listen to from the programme just to give us a flavour?
Definitely. I spoke to the fair's CEO, Jen Roberts, about, well, how fabulous Miami is in the 20th edition. And yeah, what's next?
It's also a city where anything goes in many ways, and I always laugh with the team and some of our exhibitors about how this is the only city where people dress like a work of art to come to an art fair. So there's a lot of character here, and there's a lot of fun and self-expression, and I think that the city encourages it.
Fascinating. So we can hear more of that on the show a little
Tonight,
later. Grace,
yeah.
very exciting. The big 2-0 for Design Miami. Can you see where I'm going with this?
Oh, yeah. The big 3-0 for me.
I've heard about this. What excitement. Grace, I think you're wearing your 4th decade very lightly.
Stop
No,
it.
was that whilst you were literally in
Yeah, I was in
Miami?
Also, I found out I was going to Miami a week beforehand. So it really was not on my bingo card for the year ahead.
Cancel the party, people.
Yeah, exactly. Sorry,
How did you mark the occasion? Is it suitable for radio?
Yeah, of course. We went for swims and then we went out for dinner at Sunny's Steakhouse. I managed to get a reservation at the hottest spot in town,
Love it.
obviously. And then we had about 2 martinis and we had to crawl
Sorry,
home.
Grace, just to jump straight in there. About 2?
Approximately 2. I don't know. You
That is
lose
an
count
obvious
after a while.
lie.
And it was about 10 p.m. and I was sliding under the table and I had
That
to be
is good.
taken
God,
home.
the sacrifices you make.
I know,
in the,
it's really tough.
in the pursuit of
Yeah.
rigorous journalism. Grace, I commend you. Happy birthday, belatedly. And listeners, do check out that show, Monocle on Design Special from Miami, coming your way tonight, 2000 London, here on Monocle Radio. That, though, is your lot for this edition of The Briefing. I hope you liked the programme. It was produced by Anita Riota. Our researcher was Joanna Moser. Our studio manager was Elliot Greenfield. What a triumvirate. My thanks to them. We'll be back at the same time tomorrow noon in London. I'm Tom Edwards. Goodbye and thanks for listening.